But the majority of the Democratic Party is in lockstep. Everybody's talking about the same things now. They're saying it takes 10 years to get, there's no point in doing it, 10 years to get it. They're saying there's 68 million acres leased, that's enough. We don't have the right land lease. We have old, tired fields that no longer produce, or they never became productive, so they're not being. And they have all these same talking points. There's so many thousand leases. They don't need more. The Democrat members are all using the same talking points, and those all come from years. They're the same talking points that have been out there for years, and they're claiming that 82% of available energy in the world is already leased. That's just a lie. That's just not a fact, but they've been using that for years too. So their talking points, everybody's using, Norm Dix used them in the meeting. A young Democrat from Ohio used them on one of the television network shows last night. They use the exact same talking points, and they're not factual, but it appears that they have chosen that they're not going to be pro-energy production.
That doesn't make sense.
I'm for all the renewables.
Look, we all are. You want to put up windmills and solar panels and clean energy. Let's do that. But you can't shut down the economy. And these people, are they just this stupid that they don't understand? I mean, I get the 10-year thing, but do we all have an appointment? Are we all supposed to be someplace in 10 years that I don't know about?
Well, what the thing we don't know. Now, I heard a talking person last night talk that the volatility in the market's 50%. I don't believe that. I think there may be a 20 to 25% volatility in the market. That I asked two top oil people what they thought would happen at a House hearing. I just walked up and two CEOs. I don't even know them. I'd never met them. I just said, if we would open up the outer continental shelf, what would it do to the market? They said it would take the fear out of the market, that we knew that's going to be soon available, some areas quicker than others, but the process could start. He said it could take 20 to 25% off the price. That was their opinion. So I think if we open up some major areas, if we would say, all right, we're going to do shale oil in the West instead of trying to block it. We have legislation constantly trying to block it. If we're going to do ANWR and offshore, and we're going to have a major initiative for coal to liquids and coal to gas, and we're what America needs to have is a plan to be OPEC free. And we need to tell OPEC that. And we're going to buddy up with Canada. We're going to work closer with Mexico, who has lots of energy but don't have the ability to produce it, and have a North American agreement where we work together and push the renewables, push coal to liquids, push coal to gas, hydrogen if it will work, anything that will work. Biofuels is what everybody's talking about, but they're minor. And they've hit the wall with corn over $7 yesterday.
Yeah, let me ask you this: why isn't anybody with corn prices climbing as much as it did yesterday? Why isn't Congress calling for an investigation there? Why didn't the corn companies build more for capacity? Why didn't they invest their record profits in producing more corn? Yeah. I mean, we're don't blame the floods or the increased demand. Big corn is to blame, isn't it? I mean, if we're going to blame big oil...
Let me say this. There's a lot of people in Congress who started as a county sheriff or some political office locally, have never run a business, don't understand the economic system, must have slept through economics class in college, because they don't understand economics, or they wouldn't talk that way. I mean, when you tax something, you get less of it. When you make regulations tougher, you're going to get less of it. If you want to, and they're for all the renewables, but they have not renewed. All the renewable incentives run out January 1. So how do people invest in wind and solar and geothermal and all these renewables? And if we don't have a 5 to 10 year opportunity to recoup your investment, so they're not even adequately funding the renewable side, let alone being pro production. When you're 86% fossil fuel dependent, 8% nuclear, and that's declining because as until we get some new plants out there, we're soon going to be a smaller percentage nuclear.
Right.
And 50 to 60 coal plants have been turned down by states because of the fear of the carbon tax. And here, the number one issue in the Senate is carbon tax. And carbon tax, or carbon credits, or carbon is going to raise energy prices another 20 to 30%. But then there are those who are scared. I had a member ask me the other day, if we opened up offshore, would energy get cheap? And I said no. Because I said, well, why would you ask that? He said, well, we can't afford to have it get cheap again.
Well, that's Barack Obama. Barack Obama said the same thing. I mean,
now you and I are forced to change. We are forced to change.
Yeah.
The American public better be tightening up their houses. They better be fixing their windows and doors and insulating their ceilings. They better be doing everything they can do to not use energy just because I want to tell you, it's coming. High prices.
Norm Dick said to his office said to one of our callers that called in. He said his office said that energy companies. He's seen some research from a government study that shows that the oil companies, they don't really want this anyway. They don't want the offshore drilling, as they won't really benefit from it either.
I don't know what he means by that. Big oil companies, the top 5 big ones, basically were pushed out of this country because we locked up. George Bush 1 locked up the Outer Continental Shelf, along with legislators from Florida and California 28 years ago. That's been in place for that length of time. So, but we've also locked up. The part of ANWR we haven't been able to produce was actually set aside by previous administrations for energy, and of course everything that looks productive in the West, there's a bill moving to lock it up, and so So if you're an energy company, you're going to go where it's easy to produce energy and countries want. Now, they've also had the problem where I see right now, another one of the oil companies is being pushed out of Nigeria. But what's happening in the world with no surplus in the system, more and more of these countries they've all nationalized them. They're all running by government, and how well does the government run a business? And they're stealing the money personally, and they're stealing the money for social programs. They're not putting the money back. Mexico is not producing anywhere near the oil they used to, but they have great fields. But it's because they're running it. They won't let big oil of any country in.
Right.
And so, almost a high 70% of the oil today is actually owned by governments.
Yeah.
And over half of those are governments that are not they're not democratic. They're not. They could if any one of them topple. What really is scary is we have these prices of both gas, and natural gas is more vital than oil even. It's more harmful. We have these prices without having had a storm in the Gulf for 2 years that always disrupts supply. We've not had a terroristic attack on the energy system, and that could happen tomorrow, could happen today. And we haven't had a major country where the government had a coup and the government toppled, and when that happens, you're going to have war within for a while. You're not going to produce as much energy. So any one of those, with no slop in the system, no surplus, we could be at $200 oil in a week or so.
Congressman John Peterson, we will have you back on the program next week. We'll put you on television as well. The vote comes up again next Wednesday. We'll have you write something for our newsletter so you can lay out all of what America's facing, what the choices are.
Okay.
And we'll get the word out. Thank you very much, Congressman.
Well, thank you for giving us the opportunity.
Oh, you bet, man.
God bless.
Looking for somebody to give us an answer.
And now, an official message from the Congress of the United States of America.
Remember in 2006 when we promised we'd lower gas prices, strengthen the economy, solve the immigration problem, bring civility back to Washington, D.C., and a bunch of other stuff? Well, we're pleased to report that after over a year in office, we have accomplished absolutely nothing. And when I say nothing, I mean zero. Nada. Zilch. If there was a scoreboard, there'd be a big goose egg up there. We're talking Michael Moore size zero. And that's one big fat zero, let me tell you. And speaking of zero, further proof that we're doing a great job up here in Congress is our approval rating. I can sum that puppy up in a couple of words. It's not zero. Yeah, suck on that one, general public. Which reminds me, I'm not even sure why we're running these PSA ads that are designed to tell you how crappy of a job we're doing. But you don't even care. You keep voting us in. I'm telling you right now that we promised lower gas prices and failed to even come close to delivering. In fact, the price has doubled in a year. Oh, man, that's funny. That's funny. Okay, gotta run. Headed up to Alaska to build the bridge to nowhere. Then I'm off to visit a couple of museums on the pubic hair growth of the spotted slug.
Thanks for tuning in to this important message. It's now time for us to go back to work doing nothing for you.
Glenn.